That's what it falls
Oh, no. No. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Debate Hub. As you may have been able to tell... Oh, hi, Maanyaa. Welcome back to the pub, guys. We're here to talk about newsy-type stuff and things. I have one very tired dinosaur. I have Landon, who's got energy, and Maanyaa, who's currently getting her caffeine fix, and I'm here with noodle arms. How is everybody doing? Let's start with Dapper and go around to Dapper, Landon, then Maanyaa. Go, Dapper. How are you? What's going on?
I'm awake, mostly. I have lychee soju. I really like lychee. It's a nice fruit if you've never had it. And I like soju. It's a nice alcohol if you've never had it.
I want to try this.
When you smash them together, it turns into a nice fruit-flavored alcohol.
I've got a pen. I have a pen.
In other words, Dapper is square root of 2 plus square root of 2i.
Yeah.
Because Dapper said he was the square root of I, which is square root of 2 plus square root of 2i.
Very nice. Landon, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I've been coding. I've been enjoying the machinations of Madame Pele, and I've been rationing my exposure to news.
Yeah, which is a hard thing to do right now, currently, in my opinion. Are you having a good time with it? Like, do you notice that it's difficult for you to do, or is it pretty easy?
No, it's a good time, but that's because like in my morning routine is when I do my news scanning, and then people send me things throughout the day, so I'm not going to mess up about it. I don't go and doom scroll.
Yeah. Doom scrolling.
And I find that if I get into ruminating like what I would do if I were blah blah blah, then I stop myself and say no.
What would Landon do if Landon was
save it
president
for
of the
debate
United
hub.
States? Maanyaa, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I was on a 2-week sabbatical from Twitter, and it was fantastic. I'm still not. It has actually helped me. Like, I'm still not interested in going back to Twitter unless I'm making announcements about our shows and stuff. And apparently, I found out that our yesterday's shows caused some ripples, the Dumbfuck Friday yesterday. So if you want to go and check it out, you can go and check it out. Where we fact-checked Steve, but mostly we made fun of him because it's Steve.
Bigots deserve to get made fun of.
Yes, and because it's the long weekend, because it's the King's birthday, I'm not saying no to a long weekend. I'm working on a live stream. I'm working on fact-checking Steve's one of Steve's latest live streams that he has done around Charlie Kirk and all that other shit that he has been talking about. So that might happen either today or tomorrow. So yeah, and it's a long weekend, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm enjoying it.
Well, with regards to the King's birthday, I would reiterate my words I said to him when he was Prince.
Casually just dunking that in. It's like, yeah, I spoke. What did you say to the prince? Oh, did you stand like in the vicinity of him and like talk shit about him? Was that what? Is that
no,
what
he
you're
got in the
talking
way
about?
of Landon's photo, and then Landon told him to fuck off.
Oh shit! Oh damn! I forgot
Landon's
about
got no
that.
chill. Maanya's got no chill. Dapper's trying
Nope.
not to fall asleep. That's where we're at today.
Correct.
We'll
It's a good day.
we can
Landon,
poke him upstairs, right?
Landon has reminded me of the favorite of mine of the human ancestors in my adopted human family's father's side, who was the sheriff who presided over the execution of Mary, Queen of Scots.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh dang!
Ooh.
Wow.
That's some
Yeah.
Mary
deep lore.
Queen of Scots, dang.
That's some
Yeah,
deep
so
lore.
Landon may have told a current English monarch to fuck off, but one of my adopted ancestors killed one of them. And I think that's a pretty good one.
Oversaw the unaliving.
He had a writ that was signed by Elizabeth, although it claimed that she was tricked into it, but she wanted to be tricked. So
Of course, she was tricked into
I
it.
do want to say, for our first bit of news, a heartfelt congratulations to everybody who got raptured. Congratulations.
Damn
Good job,
it!
everybody. You did it.
Damn it! I
So,
didn't get
so,
raptured.
so,
Fuck.
did they remove some people from our presence? I mean, did we get rid of some?
Charlie Kirk?
I haven't seen any indications of that, but like, how would we know? Really?
That was distasteful. Sorry. Sorry.
Although
I don't know.
did see.
It is.
Uh,
I mean, are you? Is your entire younger creationist crowd still here?
they seem to be.
I feel like they wouldn't
Oh,
deserve to get
sorry.
raptured.
Trademark
Yeah.
Canada.
No. No.
I did see a story though about a woman who surrendered her children to CPS in advance of the rapture, and is
Damn.
now
Why?
trying.
Because her
very
children are
hard-
going to go to hell?
Look. I'm not going to ask questions about the
To
thinking
be-
there.
To be fair, I guess they're probably at least I guess the kids got raptured in that case, and they're in a better place.
No, because now she's just trying to get them back from CPS.
She's
is what's
trying
happening
to
right
get them back, but they don't.
Trying
She
is
doesn't
the key
have
word.
them back.
now.
And
The
like,
thing is,
Hmm.
if you surrender your kids to the government usually takes that as a sign that you're probably not fit to
right,
serve.
that's what I mean. So like those kids
Right.
got taken to a better place at the very least.
Yeah, well, yeah, they did
In-
technically, yeah.
In that case, good God.
That kid.
Yeah, that's
That's actually sad. You know, but it's like not
Sorry,
even like
Titan.
give her like
Titan in the
Right.
chat said, the rapture happened. If you're still here, you're bisexual.
well, there we go.
so does that mean a certain YouTuber
I'm here for that.
who's in court for a restraining order case is still bisexual because they didn't get raptured?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're
Or
all,
you're on the
we're all a
spectrum,
little bit
right?
gay.
You could be-
Everyone's a little bit gay.
I do
Alright, so-
remember I
I know,
saw
okay.
an interaction
Very gay.
on Twitter that was like,
Yeah.
man, if all that being bisexual is being attracted to both sexes, then everyone's bisexual. And then the next line is like, okay, who's gonna tell him?
Who's gonna tell him? Perfect. Ideal. Okay, so you guys were talking about the king, right? King Charles. So we got a little bit of news about King Charles and one
Chuck.
Doland. Chuck? Are we talking about when we talk about him like he's the Charlie Brown? King Charles persuaded Donald Trump to U-turn on Ukraine, says Volodymyr Zelensky's top aide as he hails state visit impact. So King Charles played a key role in Donald Trump's recent change of mind on the Ukraine war. It has emerged. Charles' talks with the U.S. president during his state visit last week were very important in a political reversal, Volodymyr Zelensky's top advisor said. Mr. Trump claimed, they're not even calling him president, Mr. Trump claimed this week that Ukraine could take back all of its territory won by the Russians in their invasions, in stark contrast to his earlier position. Thanks, Doland. We needed your permission.
So
I mean, I don't know if I would
I don't know if
fully
there's
believe this.
yeah. Go
Mhm.
on. Landon.
You know, I'm sure that Zelensky's aides have been much more carefully manipulating the man-child, that's Agent Orange, and you know, it's possible that Charles also was encouraged to do stuff. But the problem is that one of the aspects of Taco is that he will change his mind.
Yeah.
And next week,
Oh,
if
yeah.
he's there, it could easily reverse all this stuff. So what he says doesn't. What
Matter.
Agent Orange
Can't
says doesn't.
He's not reliable.
Yeah. No.
He's not consistent
But
in any meaningful
It could
way.
be. I mean, no, I don't
He's-
know that the Ukraine has the ability at this stage, without significant support, to do what Trump claims.
I don't think Ukraine on its own would be able to do that, but I don't think Ukraine is on its own. And I think with what we're seeing
What-
with the military ramp up in Europe overall, you're seeing
Yes.
that
I agree.
Ukraine's not on its own.
Was-
The question is,
Yeah,
will
I support-
Ukraine be able to do it without America? And
Yeah,
I think
so-
yes. I think
What
yes,
had
yes,
happened
yes.
was, what definitely had happened was that during Trump's visit to UK, King Charles in his state banquet made the speech where he expressed his support for Ukraine.
Mhm.
So that can be seen as that could have persuaded Trump because it was a public, very public support for Ukraine, and Trump kind of admires, you know, state heads or people who have absolute power, like kings and queens and stuff. He admires people like those, so he might have taken that into account. That's
I mean, he's
possible.
been calling himself a dictator.
Ernest said,
Yeah.
the last person who talked to him, and all askers have different agendas, right? So it's just a matter of what happened. Again, I would support that happening, and I think, but the world most of the world is at war with the government of Russia. Actually, government of Russia / government of Iran / government of North Korea.
Yes.
And the Russian invasion into Ukraine is one of those flashpoints. The Iran, Hamas, Israel war in Gaza is another flashpoint. And of course, there is the U.S. invasion of the United States as another flashpoint for stuff, because we seem to be keen on invading ourselves. I wish
That's what she said.
Yep.
I wish my friends in Portland, Oregon, all the best.
Yeah, the stuff that's going on in Portland is that's like Donald is McDonald over here is
McDonald.
Well, we'll get to that. Let's not jump ahead too far, because this is also like dramatic change of heart comes. Calling it a change of heart is a bit much. Change of heart comes just over a month after Trump agreed with Russian President Vladimir Putin on potential peace plan involving Ukraine ceding its land to invading Russian forces. And this is like one of those things where I just don't think anything. It's like the same with the way Canada treats Pete Hoekstra. Like, nothing he says matters. What matters is whatever actions have actually taken place. And Landon, I do believe you have a list of things that Donald Trump has done this month.
Well,
I applaud your attempt.
We're thinking about having a feature where what we do is we list things, keep a list of things that we need to fix, including cookies. Keeping that fix, because it's too difficult to keep track of all the poo coming out of Poo Land. So we're going to build this list of things.
Yeah. So
that we need to fix. And maybe as a segment next time, which would be, here are the things to add to the list, right? And so
we're gonna make this a segmented thing, and we're gonna do our best to try to keep track of it. But so here's the list so far. This is gonna be a work in progress. But restore Voice of America, fund Corporation of Public Broadcasting, reverse RFK Jr. Tylenol directive, restore pre-RFK Jr. vaccine schedule, undo Department of War name, remove Confederate general names from military bases, restore heavy milk ship name, reverse all Trump tariffs, negotiate several where needed, restore Department of Education, terminate with prejudice all Trump cabinet appointments. Why do I feel like this is a list of stuff you just want? This is a Christmas list, Landon.
Yes.
You even read my Christmas list.
It's on my Amazon wish list.
Amazon wish list. Okay.
All right, well, chat, you guys make sure, let us know if there's anything in this list that you want to see changed or what you would do instead.
Speaking of Amazon wish list, did I tell you about the conspiracy, Chesh?
What?
There was a dastardly conspiracy to secretly get a bunch of co-conspirators among my subscribers and supporters to band together in the name of pelagic tunicates, whom I hate, to then save up and buy me the most expensive item on my wish list, which was a new recording booth.
You told me that you got something, but you didn't tell me about the conspiracy behind you getting it. Congratulations.
I believe on that list is that Trump placed federal protection on pelagic tunicates. That needs to be reversed.
Landon, how could you?
No, I think Trump did that.
Yeah, terminate with prejudice. Terminate with prejudice, yeah. All Trump cabinet appointments, terminate all federal workers appointed directly by Trump. terminate like their job or terminate their life?
Yes, yeah. And so by the way,
Okay.
To terminate with prejudice means that you're not allowed to resign. You are fired for cause, and your eventual pension is in question.
And you likely can't get hired back.
Yeah. For all the Trump fans out there,
wow.
it doesn't mean that you terminate someone for their race.
Yes,
Or
I know
sexuality.
Suspend for review any federal worker hired directly by Trump cabinet members. Restore display at national museums that were altered by Trump directives. Restore the name of the Gulf of Mexico. Restore all placements changed by Trump or a Trump cabinet member. Revoke Trump and all Trump cabinet members' security clearances. Restart wind farm projects. Restore projects for trans/LGBTQ plus
protections.
Workers. Protections. Terminate all ambassadors and embassy staff appointed by staff. Appointed by Trump and Trump cabinet members. Restore press credentials to all news agencies terminated by Trump or the White House staff, and repeal the Big Ugly Bill Act. I mean, that's a pretty solid list.
There's a bunch of things we're missing.
Oh yeah.
So please in the chat add things that he's done. You think we should?
Please assist us in doing that. Yeah, we're.
And then the next segment will be just that list we have, the reverse actions. These are the things that add this week. So we'll try to do things, but yes.
I also wanted to share this, which is Putin preparing to attack another European country, Zelensky says.
Yes.
Now, do you believe Zelensky? I think is a fair question.
Yes.
You believe Zelensky? Maanyaa, do you believe Zelensky?
He might.
In general, in general.
In general, by attack, if he means that he will try to undermine another European country, then yes, okay. I believe in that sense.
Sure. Yeah. Dapper, do you believe Zelensky?
I mean, yeah, he's already invading other countries' airspaces. I don't see why that wouldn't be a prelude to an invasion.
All right. Yeah, I believe Zelensky as well. So go ahead, Landon.
So one of the things that Vladimir Putin, who is upset that he had to become a taxi cab driver in Moscow after the fall of the Berlin Wall, one of the things he's trying to do is to play to his domestic audience, right? So far, he's been able to use the Russian treasury to pay, a large sum, over like 1 million rubles, to a family saying, surrender one of your kids who's going to be killed by meat fodder, and we'll give you a bunch of money. And they've been doing that in the countryside, not in the major cities. But if he can show to the Russian people that Russia's under attack, then he can justify a mass mobilization without cash and even start to draft people in the cities.
Yeah.
And because they're running out of people, running out of cash to bribe. Again, it's a terrible thing to do to a family on the countryside, saying, give up your kids and we'll give you a bunch of cash so they can be killed in this war. He hasn't the ability to do that in the cities. But if he can get a country to attack Russia or pretend to attack Russia, then he can do that, which would allow him to mass mobilize a much larger army without the expenses, and again try to push more continually into Ukraine. So if he can get a NATO country, for example, to attack back and use that as an excuse, then that's the goal, right? He's not yet trying to directly expand. He's trying to build the case in the Russian people that he needs to be able to expand.
I think that he's also just testing the waters a little bit as well, to see like what NATO will do, if anything. And I think that he's probably unhappy that Canada's already in Poland.
He's doing what if I violate some sovereignty just a little bit?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just as a special treat. But like the thing is too is that like again, Canada's already there. Canada was like they sent the first set of the drones, and then Canada was just like, oh hey there, bud.
Hey there, buddy.
And it's one of the things that I really enjoy about the way my country operates. Like, a lot of people don't realize that Canada's got, like, their hands in the cookie jar, And I like that people don't realize that Canada's got their hands in the cookie jar, but we definitely got our hands in the cookie jar.
There are a non-trivial number of Canadian advisors and declared military personnel who are Canadian in areas of interest.
Intention. Yeah, areas of interest is a good way to put it. Yeah, there's Canadians in Palestine right now. There are Canadians in Poland right now. There's Canadians, and there have been Canadians in Ukraine for a while since the annexing of Crimea, if not earlier. Like, we're around. We're kind of just lurking in the background, just being like, "Give me an excuse, motherfucker." But yeah, I think that this is pretty straightforward, and I don't think anybody is really surprised that Putin is pushing boundaries, because that seems to be a thing that he likes to do.
So Becca, by the way, I mentioned two things added to the list: firewall ICE agents hired during the Trump era, firewall ICE agents who have used a mask in the course of their job.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Or just all ICE agents.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Abolishing ICE in totality.
And also
ICE did have a mission, and there were decent ICE agents. It's just that when you have to go and hire Mr. Mackey, you know you scraped the wrong.
For legal purposes, I'm being advised not to comment.
Ukraine destroys Russian ammo depot with over 19,000 drones and rare Zubek, right? ZUBK-14 tank missiles. This was as of September 22nd. So,
22nd? That's recent.
Yeah, it was like this week. So, like, the Ukraine war is definitely, like, it was kind of like in a weird stalemate for a little while until everybody was like, yeah, okay, Ukraine, you go ahead and fight now for real.
They've been giving some intelligence in terms of where these spots are, but they've also been severely crippling the the things like the petrochemical processing infrastructure. I had somebody who lives in a city in Russia who says that nearly all the petrol stations have a price now of 0, which means they don't have any petrol.
Right.
And they have to, in their apartment block, designate somebody that goes out to their car to try to fill up a tank and then come back to then distribute it amongst the people in their little apartment block, so that people can use for things that are necessary, the limited fuel that's there.
See, what they need to do is they need to get Trump to go in and cut the price of oil and gas by 1,000%, so that way you get free gas and a cash money gift.
Yes, 1,000%. Yes.
Yeah, I love it when things get cut by 1,000%, so that way I get a cash prize every time I go to get my free items.
So what did they exactly use to like strike these
Drones
and tank rounds.
And one of the things that they're
But what did they strike it with? Like, what kind of ammunition did they use to strike
tank
it?
rounds?
That's what I'm asking.
And one of the things, Maanyaa, that they're doing is they send in a flock of drones into a hardened area, and the systems respond, and then the commanders believe they're all clear, and then they basically sneak around and do it again, because it takes time for the system to reset.
So, so they are checking for defenses, and then they are attacking accordingly.
Or they get a defense focused in an area. And then it turns there.
So they can attack another area.
Low Energy Vids points out that Canadians are at the border for Korea, between the Koreas as well. It's like, yeah, Canada's there too. One of the things that I looked up the other day, because I was talking about it like just in my real life, and I was looking up how many Canadians are in the United States that are like military personnel versus how many are in like United States people are in Canada for the military, and there was an exact number of like 350. I don't know if I'm getting the number right, so fact check me on that one, double check the number. But there was like an exact number of military operatives in Canada that are from the United States, and the response when you look up at least when I looked it up, for Canada and the United States was no exact number is known, but it's upwards of thousands.
Yes.
Wow.
People
Yeah.
might not know, but NORAD,
Yeah.
North American Agency, they alternate between a U.S. general and a Canadian general on a frequent basis. I believe on a weekly basis. So every the week, there's a Canadian.
Man, how come my deployment
overseeing
was
the-
never just to Canada? I was like, hey, we're gonna go hang out in the middle of the desert for a while. Do I just go to Vancouver
It's
instead?
also-
Is that an option?
It's also like because the ZUBK-14 rounds, they are like extended range anti-armor like rounds. So it kind of if you destroy those, they kind of like reduce like Russia's ability to threaten Ukraine tanks and vehicles that are operating at the front lines. So that's a cool thing. I just found out. Yeah.
Yeah, they got a lot going on
Yeah.
right now. It seems that this
The-
war is
very
taken
strategic.
this war has taken a turn that it has been like Russia is just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time
Yeah.
before Russia loses and like
I
goes
mean,
completely
economically,
bankrupt. Yeah.
they're collapsing. On the front line, Russia is a war of attrition that Russia is just slowly, on average, creeping forward. The world will have to get much more active in supporting Ukraine to try and because otherwise it's going to be a slow, steady creep. Unfortunately.
I think the world is already heading that direction anyway. Like to me, it seems like with the rearmament of Europe, with shifting away from the United States, and with Russia showing up in other NATO airspace, it seems to me that the rhetoric is definitively fuck Russia, and the horse it's trying to ride it on. That seems to be the case to me. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that seems to be the vibe that I'm getting. So
It's
I
even
think
the vibe in churches.
yeah.
And if you look at the
I don't know if you're
countries for
aware.
which last week Russia had incidents, right, of material going across the border, it was United States, Canada, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, Romania, Turkey, Denmark, and I think I'm missing one other one. That was just last week.
Yeah. What did you want to say,
What do
Dapper?
you mean?
I was gonna say, like even churches have noticed. Like, you might not know this, but the Russian Orthodox Church was previously, at least, the largest church in the group of churches that comprise the Eastern Orthodox Church.
Yeah.
Yet no longer actually in communion with the large majority of Eastern Orthodox churches.
Oh, wow.
Specifically because they were like, "Hey, Patriarch Kirill of Moscow, are you blessing a bunch of weapons being used to kill your co-religionists in other countries?"
Oh.
And the answer to that, of course, was just like, yeah, I'm totally blessing bombs and shit. And they were like, could you not? And the answer was no. So they were like, well, I guess we're going to excommunicate you.
Yep.
Oh, good.
Like all good fascists, you try to co-opt religion into your bidding, and
I mean,
the Russian
we've been doing that
Orthodox
for a while.
hierarchy
Yeah.
has been there because Russia is essentially a fascist state.
Yeah.
They have been for quite a long time, and they've used this they co-opt a particular religious figure and then use that as a means to try and push their agenda domestically.
There are numerous pictures that circulate on social media of Putin, standing in churches, crossing himself, lighting candles, and it's like, oh, that's nice. Hey, which part of the Bible or the church fathers is the one where you say, go on an invasion to some other
Those would be
country?
the bombs that kill the enemy.
Yeah.
They will
Yeah.
smite them.
Yeah.
Book
Not
of
actually in
Armaments,
the
Chapter
Bible,
3.
surprising.
So,
Oh yes, armaments. I forgot.
UN resumes sanction on Iran after failed last-minute nuclear talks. This was as of today. The United Nations reimposed sanctions on Iran early Sunday over its nuclear program, further squeezing the Islamic Republic as its people increasingly find themselves priced out of the food that they need to survive and worry about their futures. After a last-minute diplomacy fail at the UN, the sanctions took effect on Sunday at 8 p.m., so that was as of, last week. The sanctions will again freeze Iranian assets abroad, halt arms deals with Tehran, and Tehran. What?
Tehran.
Okay.
Tehran.
And penalize any development of Iran's ballistic missile program, among other measures. It came via a mechanism known as snapback, included in Iran's 2015 nuclear deal with world powers, and it comes as Iran's economy is already reeling.
Yeah, and the Iranian government, of course, is active, involved in the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the missiles. They're also actively involved in the Iran-Hamas-Israel war in Gaza. And the world would be better off if we could figure out how to collapse the government of Iran. They did have enriched uranium in excess of 60%. When the bombs were dropped, that uranium didn't disappear. It just got spread around, and it's very easy to identify and reclaim. So
you're saying it's like the clap?
Yeah, unless the best way to get rid of it is put in a reactor and to split it, right? That's how well we get rid of it.
I'm not sure if that's true, certainly, but
but Iran certainly has, and it was the same international agency that caught Iran doing their enrichment before. I mean, Iran did have material that could be used for a weapon, and they were stockpiling it, even though they hadn't gone to the Pakistan level of actually detonating something. But also, by the way, it's been shown that Pakistan and Iran have been cooperating on nuclear items. They had been for a while, and so the fact that the UN said they're still naughty is not surprising. And you say, does Iran have the right? No, Iran does not have. I do not want Iran to have nuclear capabilities. They're batshit crazy.
The thing is that it's about whether
not the people. The people are fine. The government is wacko.
The government is basically run by the same people who in the U.S. were worried about the rapture.
Yeah, fair enough. What are you trying to say, Maanyaa?
So hear me out. So the thing is that my thing is that America has nukes. That's for sure, right? North Korea has nukes, right? But for some reason, the whole world is going really, really hard on Iran for having nukes, right?
I mean, to be fair, they also went really, really hard on North Korea.
Yeah.
Are they?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
There's basically all trade in and out of North Korea is more or less illegal in almost every country.
Yeah.
Yep.
It would be hard to go harder on North Korea short of bombing them.
Nobody's going hard on France for having nukes, if that's what you mean.
True.
Yeah, nor India, nor Pakistan, like Landon says, right? Pakistan is an ally to US, and they and they were the ones. Hold on. And they were the ones who supplied. But on international stage, they clearly support each other, and at least above India.
Are we gonna pretend that the United States didn't invade Pakistan?
Yes,
though?
I will pretend.
No, they didn't. They're not. But
hold on.
But
I'm not finished.
Maanyaa is correct. Please continue.
Pakistan was the one who supplied Iran with the fucking shit, with the information that enabled them to have nukes in the first place. So far as I can see, there are no penalties against Pakistan for that at all.
Well, but the stuff for Iran. Okay, but hold on. There's a difference.
I'm gonna start war here.
There's a difference though between doing something as punishment and doing something that is preventative. The idea with sanction on Iran is to be preventative from them getting nukes.
How is it preventative?
Hold on.
Do they have nukes already?
Pull this back up.
So
they have nukes?
I mean, so the history is that a gentleman named A.Q. Khan was a metallurgist, and built a nuclear program. He sold it to Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. He sold it to Saddam Hussein of Iraq. He sold it to the regime in Iran and to North Korea, right? And so those are the ones, and we know that because when Gaddafi turned over his material, they had Aga Khan's actual DNA on the documents, right? It was known. And India had the capability, but not pulled the trigger to build a nuclear program. And when Aga Khan got, Pakistan also tested the device, then India brought theirs. There will be sadly enough, there will be millions of people's death laid at the feet of Aga Khan. What is he doing right now? What is Pakistan doing right now? He's in a pleasure palace under, quote, house arrest.
Right.
The man who has destabilized much of the rest of the world. And the government of Pakistan is too chicken bleep to actually
you can swear here.
Punish the person.
You're allowed. You're allowed.
It is a terrible thing what this man did, and then selling it to entities. And we know because of the thing that Saddam Hussein was building, that the Israeli government took out as a reactor. The thing that Libya had and the Iran program are all that same process. All the centrifuges, all the same thing going on in North Korea.
But the idea is that the sanctions on Iran are supposed to be preventative. How effective they are is a different question. The point is that there is a proactive attempt to prevent them from building nukes. And that's not to say that Pakistan didn't, quote unquote, do anything wrong, but there's a big difference between punishing Pakistan and preventing Iran from nuclearizing.
That's the thing, right? US was very quick to punish India for saying, we're not gonna stop buying from Russia, right? They were very quick to punish India with increased tariffs and stuff, and it's still, those tariffs are still there. They haven't reduced them, right? They have skipped on some of the new ones against India, right? Why and how? That's another reason. Maybe diplomacy is working, but they're always quick to punish countries that seem compliant in a way. That's my point. And they never. There's nothing about punishing at all, especially the ones who are their perceived allies. So there's a double standard here, in my opinion. That's what I'm trying to highlight.
Oh, there's definitely a double standard between allies and frenemies and enemies in global politics.
Yeah, that's when they make when UN comes in and starts imposing sanctions on countries like Iran and stuff. I'm just like, I don't know if I want to take United Nations seriously at this point because they are not effective. Let me just say.
Maanyaa, there's I think there's several things going on here, right?
Yeah.
The nuclear program that Iran invited the UN to come in and say, see, we're peaceful, and turned out they were not because they didn't know how to hide it. That's a different story than for example, what's happening right now, which is the Russian economy is funding the war on Ukraine. And one of the things that fell this last week was the EU saying we're going to stop purchasing petrochemicals from Russia. But the two countries that are funding the war are the Hindu Nationalist Party in India and the Chinese Communist Party in China. Those two entities are the ones that are funding Russia. And if they're buying oil elsewhere, then Russia's economy would have collapsed long ago. They're two different things going on.
Are they being offered an alternative? That's another question.
Well, that's the thing that's
maybe I'm coming
if you
from,
had somebody who
that's why another thing. Maybe I'm born in India, and maybe that's why there's that a little bit of.
Is that if you had somebody in the State Department that had a brain or was interacting there, you could do just that, right?
Yeah.
It's not that we don't want government India or government of People's Republic of China to have oil. They need to be given alternatives and incentives to
the United
to do that
States isn't exactly in a very good position to be doing that right now with having Donald Trump at the helm.
But number one funder of the Russian war on Ukraine is Chinese Communist Party. Number 2 is the government of India. Now Europe is in the process of terminating their agreements, and that was an important step because there was hypocrisy there. I go on, but those are the 2 things, and so we've got to convince them, and I think that there's a ways to do it positively. I think
the question is like whether or not it's effective. If it's effective or not, and I think that's a reasonable question of the UN, because the UN has kind of been like neutered in a lot of ways, and in my opinion,
I like the word.
Again, maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, it seems to me that we can't look at the UN as the United States. The UN is a different entity than the United States.
Yeah. And the International Atomic Energy Agency was the one that Iran invited in to say, we want you to prove that we're peaceful. And they said, no, you're not.
Right.
And then they kicked them out.
Particularly that the United States has been pulling out and threatening to pull out of the UN for a while, and again, with the rearmament of Europe. The big rearmament of Europe going on, and the reworking of a lot of these trade routes and the reshuffling of economic power is going to massively, massively change what the UN is even capable of doing, and how much of a quote-unquote bully the UN should be, or how hypocritical they may or may not be. But at the end of the day, when you have a massive power shift, it's and that's what it is. That's what we're watching, right? It's going to be a massive power shift.
And this war that most of the world's having with Russia, Iran, North Korea has people that pretend to be neutral that are supporters, and the 3 biggest supporters, funding-wise, are China, India, and it was also, I believe, the 3rd one was Turkey. But again, the EU sanctions have been trying to also work on Turkey as well to try to stop that process.
And if you want to talk about like alternatives, because I think that's a really good point too, have it like being able to provide India specifically with alternatives instead of them turning to Russia for whatever is a 2-pronged problem, right? Well, it's more than 2, but I'm just going to talk about 2 for now. You have the problem of you can attack it from alternative energy sources, so no longer using petrol at all, and moving into green energy options, and from being able to like do things like inviting India to stuff like the G7, which we did see. So
because the thing is that, with country, why I have a soft spot for like countries like India and any other like Iran and stuff. These countries were former colonies, right? And all the other countries around the world, including Europe, they have today on the backs of these colonies, former colonies. And what has happened as a result of that, these countries afford to let go of when they have to. Countries like 3rd world countries like India, Pakistan, even Pakistan, they cannot, because they are already struggling for resources, and on top of that, then they're pushed into a corner. They're not given any alternatives. They're not like, we will offer cheaper gas here, or we will give you cheaper oil here. They're not given that. They're expected to just drop it.
Well,
that is not fair, especially for even China, for countries like China and India, who have a population in billions. And these 2 countries were the countries on whose backs Europe stands now. All of even US also stands now. Right? To just expect them to just drop alternate sources, it's not fair, in my opinion.
I mean, what India is doing now is buying Russian oil, refining it, and trying to sell it as its own. Right? It is one of the major funders of the war. Iran is one of the major funders of the war.
So India
Chips into drones are coming from both China and India, and that has to stop in order to try to prevent Russia from doing
what I'm saying is stick does not work all the time, Landon.
Yes.
You have to give them something. You have to give them a cake too. Here, we have the cake for you.
In the case of Iran, I have no qualms about using the stick. I mean, the government of Iran needs to go. We need to work with India to help them integrate with the rest of the world and not Russia.
You are imposing sanctions on them, right? And you are basically, who's suffering in that? The Iranian citizens.
If the government of India continues to fund the war, they're going to deserve what the rest of the world does to them.
But are they?
Right?
That's what I'm saying. No. Oh, so they deserve that. But my thing is that it's not effective. It's only going to push them towards Russia even more, because if you are gonna just keep showing them the stick, that never works. You have
Then
to
what
give
you
them
do is you
something to
ban
compensate.
Indian products into petro products into the Europe and into North
That's
America.
where I disagree with you. That's where I disagree with you. You
I
expect
have a
India
different
to
answer
just
for
drop it.
you. Because the
Go
thing
for it,
is,
Chesh.
is that there's more than two options, right? You have
Okay, yeah,
India, you have India in particular being brought to the G7. The being brought to the G7 or G6 or G5 or however many there are now. That opens up.
Yeah.
That is a big fucking door being opened up for India specifically when it comes to negotiation and trade. With Canada, with France, with the UK, with Japan,
Excellent point.
with all of these countries, right? Including like other countries that showed up. Mexico, I believe. Did Mexico end up going? I think they might not have went, but like, or with other countries that showed up, because there were a couple of countries that Carney
They were
also
in the G20.
invited. Yeah, there was 20 again. Yeah. So you have this option where it is not just a carrot and stick situation, or not just a stick only situation. You, at least particularly with India. If you want to talk about the Middle East on a whole, there's so much fuckery going on, because it's not like Russia is like helping Iran out of the goodness of its heart, and China isn't helping Iran out of the goodness of their heart. But it can't just be, oh, Europe did bad things to India and Pakistan, and so fuck the rest of the world. Because it's not like Canada did. Let me finish.
That's not what I'm saying.
You said it wasn't fair, and they were being left to fend for themselves, and so they're taking these options from bad places, causing bad things to happen based on that. Right?
Saying is, you cannot expect them to go in that direction. If you keep on showing them the stick.
But I'm saying that's not what's happening, and you can't say that it's okay for them to go around. See. Let me finish. That it's okay for them to go around and beat the shit out of the Ukrainian people who didn't do anything to them.
My thing is, again, that's what I keep saying. Okay, you said they got invited to G7, right?
That's an example. That's one thing.
Yes. An example, right?
Yeah.
One thing. Let's see what happens. Do they get more opportunities like these as trade? I'm quite sure India is reasonable. If they do get more opportunities for trade, they will withdraw as much as they can from Russia. I don't know about Iran though. Maybe they won't. Maybe they will. But I know about India because born and brought up in India, whatever. But I also know that I will point out one last thing, that I know that India, China, even Pakistan, they are all holding on to Russia because it's of strategic importance. Also, because they are holding this up as like, we have an option here. Don't you dare try to like push us around. So that's also another thing that they're doing. I get that. But when you really, if the world really shows these countries that we can trust you and we are willing to talk to you as equals and treat you like equals on every front, trade, technology, whatever, good things can happen.
Australia, that was the other one.
I think as well, that the world is going to need to also apply sanctions in the Iran, Hamas, Israel war, right? They need to apply sanctions to those three entities equally, because of again, if you're collaborating with those countries economically, you are also funding and supporting the war in Gaza, right?
Yeah.
And yes, I'm talking about that as well. So and Modi in particular saw an opportunity when the Russian oil sanctions to go and increase significantly. He increased significantly the importation of Russian oil into India, refine it, and then try to claim
it's an opportunity, right? And like, I don't even think it's necessarily wrong for a country to take advantage of other countries fighting with each other. Like, that makes sense to me. Like, I don't like, do that. I mean, Canada's doing that. Everybody does that. That's how countries operate. This is global politics, right? But
Chesh's
also,
favorite rule of acquisition is war is good for business.
It is. War is good for business. It's true.
Which rule is that?
As long as you do it right.
I don't remember, but I do remember that the next one after it is peace is good for business.
Yes. Yeah.
And also, my favorite rule of acquisition is treat your employees like family. Exploit them.
Yeah. So just to point out, when it comes to Palestine, since you brought it up, is the UK, Canada, and Australia have formally recognized Palestine as a state, breaking with the US, and so has France. So France isn't listed here, but France has also done that. So congratulations on that. You know, it took long enough, but hey, listen, beggars can't be choosers.
2 years of genocide.
Yeah, beggars can't be choosers, okay?
Beggars can't be choosers.
It is a thing. It's a that's again an ongoing item that needs to be there. And it was really sad to see in the UN that there was the US condemning Russia and then placating the war in Gaza, right? That hypocrisy is there. By the way, Maanyaa, I think that India deserves a permanent seat on the Security Council. Not that it's useless anyway, but at least it would be the thought that counts.
It's useless, but it's what's the perfectionatory?
I think so. It will be beneficial because there will be someone like who will be like, me, hello.
I mean, they're a permanent nuclear power, and they're a substantial economy and a substantial chunk of the world, right? Those were the excuses to currently have the current set of members.
India needs to be taken seriously.
Yeah, but we know the real answer was just you beat up on Germany hard enough during World War II. That was the real reason for putting people in there. Or Japan, for that matter.
I mean, it's interesting to see, because Germany was also actually at the G7, weren't they? Germany was there. Carney invited Germany, right? So Germany was there, Japan was there, India was there. Trump ran away after being really
and by the way, just to understand, recognizing the Palestinian government as a state does not mean that you are somehow approving of Hamas. Hamas, remember, murdered the PLO elected representatives in Gaza and then claimed to be the representatives of that region.
From my understanding, at least, because I was looking at it yesterday or the day before, Canada has a list of terrorist groups, and Hamas is on their list of terrorist groups. So if you were, for example, and there's new laws being presented in Canada to get rid of a little bit of extra hate speech stuff, particularly targeting Islamophobia and targeting Nazi propaganda. So, I mean, I think this is a good thing. And I think this is a matter where you do both, right? You support Palestine and then you turn around and protect Jewish folks at home because, like, they didn't do anything. Right? Like, this isn't an issue that the Jews are the problem. This is an issue that the people who live in Israel have an incredibly problematic government that needs to be dealt with, but it has to be dealt with on a global scale because Palestine can't protect itself right now.
Yeah, and the Knesset system is broken, right? It is virtually impossible to bring a vote of no confidence, let alone have it survive in the Knesset, if the opposition has significant concerns over what the government's doing. And so Likud has aligned themselves in order to form a coalition to get a majority vote with the most extreme parties. And those extreme parties said the price for being part of your government is we want to essentially commit acts of horror against the people of Gaza, right? And so you have extremists that the government is going along with. And so if you want to solve the Gaza thing, you need to put sanctions on all those parties involved. And that does not include, by the way, the Palestinian state. If we're talking about Hamas, Israel, government of Israel, and the government of Iran. This does not mean you're against Iranians or Palestinians or Israelis. You're talking about the government. And those are the ones that are perpetrating this horrid war. And and that there's a case we got to deal with the supporters of that. Just to treat that war just the same as the war going on in Ukraine, and that's going to involve impacts that side. But
there was also what do you think of the state and Congress members? Senate and Congress members that were signed a letter telling Canada and Australia and the UK and France to not recognize Palestine. Do you want me to read? I don't know if you've seen this letter. Do you guys want me to read it real quick? It's not super long.
Sure.
Okay. I'll just read it real quick so you guys can get the gist of what I'm talking about. So this was written to Australia, Canada, France, and the United Kingdoms. Dear Prime Minister, blah, 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 blah. We are writing with respect to your efforts to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state at the upcoming 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. This is a reckless policy that undermines prospects for peace. It sets the dangerous precedent that violence, not diplomacy, is the most expedient means for terrorist groups like Hamas to achieve their political aims. Accordingly, we respectfully request that you reconsider your decision, especially as Hamas continues to hold Israeli citizens hostage while refusing to agree to a ceasefire. It goes on, but that's like the gist of what they said, and I'll provide a link so you guys can check it out in more depth if you would like.
I mean, my response, if I were someone who, had a response as like a thing I was offered, like, hey, what do you say? Is like, you know what, you're right. It is the case that violence should not be rewarded with recognition of statehood. And so for that reason, I rescind recognition of the statehood of Israel, who is by far committing more violence than Hamas or any other Palestinian government body or legislature or controlling party or anything else like that.
Yeah, I
which
think
is
it's
not
very
to say
silly.
it's an endorsement.
Yeah.
Because one thing is, recognition of statehood is not an endorsement of the policies or actions of that state.
Right.
For instance, the United States recognizes the statehood of Iran.
Right.
Like, that doesn't mean much. It just means, yes, this is an actual country.
Yeah.
And we're going to treat them as a sovereign power, which can include things like sanctions and declaring war and military strikes. That's things countries do to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But what it means is that they are a government, and we recognize that fact.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's not a big ask, in my opinion. Like, I think it's ridiculous and absurd to compare the terrorist attack, and it was a terrorist attack on October 7th of 2023. I think it's absurd to compare that to the literal genocide as if, like, this is a retaliation on Israel's part and not just a straight up murder fest, which is what it seems to me to be. And that certainly doesn't mean that Israel should stop existing, but I can understand the rhetoric that comes out of a terrorist group's mouth when Israel goes out of its way to give them justification to say shit like that. But on top of that, it doesn't mean that the people that are there deserve to be genocided because of what a group is saying. It's the same reason why I wouldn't say that Canada should genocide the United States because your president keeps threatening us all the time.
Yeah. By the way, I should add to the list, reaffirm that Canada is an independent sovereign country.
Yay! Yeah, well, the United States doesn't want...
Now you say, well, why is that? Well, because of we've been acting as if that's not. And so I think a statement by the new administration...
Well, I mean, like,
Canada is a sovereign country that has never committed anything that was recognized at the time as a war crime.
Hey. And, like, you've got way too many presidents that are war criminals. Also, like...
I mean, I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah, no.
Definitely do.
Also, like, it's one of those things where it's like, having the United States talking to Canada saying you shouldn't recognize this other place as a place that exists is really funny when they're doing 51st state rhetoric. Like, it kind of falls on deaf ears, you know what I mean? Like, nobody fucking cares you're a joke. Like, stop.
So this is why I say I think that promoting this two-state solution in that thing is the proper way to go. And that's going to allow that, as a path forward, that both need to be there. We have to both recognize both. But it's just that the current situation is broken. And it is a sad thing that Middle East area occupies so much attention. It would be nice if they weren't.
I think the Middle East in overall is a really big sticking point for, I think, a lot of people, and a sticking point on the world stage as of right now, particularly with stuff being so disheveled at the moment. But I think like given a little bit of time, once things start to stabilize a little bit more and people sort of again reroute those economic ties, remake those trade agreements, rework a lot of that stuff, and having again, I think having India at the G7. Although I know it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because like in Canada at least. Canada was pissed. There were a lot of people in Canada that were not happy that Mark Carney invited India to the G7, particularly because India has attacked and murdered Canadians on Canadian soil and has dismembered Canadian journalists in the recent past. So there were a lot of
And
Canadians
we're talking
who were
about,
not happy about that.
selected high government officials
Yes.
doing this in retaliation for
Wait, it wasn't
people,
Maanyaa?
journalists.
No,
who
it
are
wasn't
saying
Maanyaa
bad things
this
about
time.
Okay. Well, all right, but I'm going to keep an eye on her just in case. Maanyaa, don't dismember any journalists.
Yeah, don't do that.
It's bad.
So it's one of those things where it's like I can understand
muted,
that.
by the way.
What? I'm not. Oh, muted.
No,
Manya's
Maanyaa
muted.
was.
That was me.
She was cursing at me.
I can
No,
understand.
I muted myself. I just said that
Okay.
you won't even come to know if I did something like that. You won't find the bodies.
It's true, I believe it. Maanya's devious enough; she would never get caught.
I understand that it leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. I just don't think, like, right now is just not the time to be concerned with retaliation or concerned with, old grudges or concerned with, punishing other countries. Right now is
Focus
the
on
land...
current things.
Right now is basically the United States going to economic war with the entire planet. And what's the rule, Dapper? What's the rule? What did we establish?
Lychee is delicious.
War is how you make money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
War is how you make money. So I don't think it's a good idea for Canada to be picking on India, killing our people and murdering them. And instead we should be like, listen, if we want India to be sorry for that and give us reparations for that or whatever, then we need to do it after we've established some kind of reasonable relationship.
Yeah.
You don't get that beforehand.
If you look at a State Department thing about countries, you will find that every country there's a list of these are the good things they're doing, these are the horrible things we're doing, these are the things that we want them to stop, these are the things we want to continue. Countries have even countries that are called friends are temporary friends until the next thing causes them to be mad at each other. It is like junior high school. And you're friends with this country, so I'm not friends with you, blah, blah, blah. And as Maanyaa sort of suggested, that if the world were to try to work with the current collaborators of Russia to say, hey, we have a better alternative, why don't you collaborate with us? They might make more progress.
All right, I'm going to let us go on a quick break because it has been...
Yes, please.
It has been an hour, so I'm going to let us take a quick break.
I want to go in a corner and cry.
Why?
I just said
because we've been mean to India.
We haven't been mean to India.
Yeah, Maanyaa disagrees. See?
I just said something quite nice that is agreeing with you.
I know. I'm just joking.
Nobody's ever happy with anything. None of us are actually friends with each other. We all actually hate each other, and we're just convenient, just like countries. All right, we'll be right back after a couple of minutes, and we will see you momentarily.
See you. A bit.
Bye.
So what's the meme?
Hey!
What
Welcome
meme?
back. We're back. The
What
meme.
meme did they
You
post?
want to see the meme? You want to see it?
Because
Are you-
Tessa's channel has the great best memes.
Does it? Damn. This was the meme. I will share. I will share so you guys can see. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. There's. Personally victimized by my own joints. Absolute fucking savagery. Alright. So, one thing I want to show you guys, because we're talking about alternatives, right? So, good news, everyone! Renewable supply record, 77.9% of power in Australia's main grid. The share of renewables in Australia's main electricity grid continues to reach new heights, delivering 77.9% of electricity demand on Sunday, with solar power contributing to more than 55% of the record-breaking clean energy mix. This is as of September. The article is September 22nd.
I'm surprised it's that high, but good for Australia.
Yes, absolutely. Congratulations, Australia. Round of applause,
Well done.
round of applause, round of applause. Data from energy advisory company Global Power Energy, GPE, shows the share of renewables in Australia's national electricity market, NEM, energy mix reached a record 77.9% in the late morning of September 21st, eclipsing the previous high of 76.8% set by the previous day. Rooftop solar generation accounted for 43.6% of the grid demand at the time, with utility-scale solar delivering 12.1%, wind generation providing 19.8%, and the energy mix and hydro of 2.3%. Quote, the new instantaneous record highlights how deep renewables now penetrate the grid during mild spring conditions. GEP NEM log energy analyst Jeff Eldridge said, quote, rooftop PV, solar, utility solar, and wind combined to push fossil generation to the margins for extended hours.
And I want to point out, from the conspiracy-minded, notice that this happened and Maanyaa went to Australia. Is there a coincidence?
Causation versus... Nah, definitely the cause.
Correlation.
Yeah.
The sun shines out of Maanya's ass.
Wow. Money, that must mean you have a gigantic ass because it reaches all the way to here.
Thick.
No comment. No comment.
You
Elena's
say.
like, I don't fucking know.
You say. My milkshakes come to the
That is not a milkshake, Maanyaa. Good lord. Eldridge also noted that the maximum, quote, rolling 7-day mean, end quote, reached a renewable share of 50.8% on Sunday, up 0.22% on the previous high of 50.6% set the day previous, the first time it had surpassed the 50% mark. The new high is 2.8% better than the 47.8% recorded this time last year. So they're making strides. When it comes to renewables.
What a big change, because certainly also the government helped with that, because a decade ago when I was trying to help design the square kilometer array, the then government was concerned that we were going to bring in several kilometers worth of solar panels to power the station. Mm-hmm. And we wanted, because it's in Australia, we wanted Australians to make the solar panels.
Yeah.
And the government then, that was ties with the National Party, it was ties with mining, didn't want that to happen because they were fearing that if Australians get comfortable with solar power, there'd be less power for the mining magnates. Mm-hmm. This seems to be in the process of changing. So good on Australia, allegedly. You have to see allegedly.
That's why, like, when people keep asking me, like, because my job is something I can move into any sector I want, right? It's that multifaceted. My job is required in every sector. So when people keep asking me, oh, when will you move to mining? Because of the, more than a decade of experience that I have in my field, and because there's a lot more money in mining, I can get twice of what I'm getting paid right now. I'm already getting paid in 6 figures. So just think about that, the twice of that.
And you're not even on my Patreon, Maanyaa? How dare you?
Hey, I'm your channel
member. Maanyaa
member.
smiles on your channel frequently.
You are a channel member.
Dapper,
So-
this opportunistic. Are you sure you're not the Ferengi here?
I never said I wasn't.
Ferengi. It's
I'm the only one
Ferengi.
who's quoted rules of
Uh,
acquisition, so evidence points towards yes.
So this is the reason why I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant to move into that direction because I'm like, industry is changing,
Yeah.
especially like countries like Australia and New Zealand. They're trying to be less
It's a bad
dependent
long-term plan.
on like on coal energy. I'm like, I still got another 2 decades or 3 decades of like my job to go. I'll see how this industry fares and then I'll decide because we will know soon in the coming 5 to 6 years whether mining is gonna stay the way it is or not, or is it going to just come down dramatically?
Well, I think this
Yeah.
massively affects like the global issues as well, right? Because if countries are moving away and moving into green energies, whatever those look like, whether it be a mix, whether it be like heftily in one and then kind of splashings of others, but then it makes sense like Canada's move towards being a resource heavy and energy heavy country. Like we use a lot of hydro. Like we literally call our electricity hydro. Like the electricity in my house is called hydro. Like we don't even call it electricity. We get a hydro
we put
bill.
it in a socket and water drips out of it.
Yeah. It's all called a hydro, and it's super annoying because it's confusing because you have a hydro bill and you have a water bill, and they're not the same thing. And so, like, it's interesting to see things that way because, like, as these things move and change, and as, like, I'm at this point convinced that Australia and Canada are kind of the same place, just on opposite sides of the temperature scale.
Don't tell Red Eye that.
I will.
Uh-oh.
Red Eye, where are you? I'll do it right now. I'll say it to his face. But it's like like Australia uses a lot of sun and Canada uses a lot of water, and so we're gonna want to we're gonna want to splash our water with sun, and you guys are gonna want to splash your sun with water. But it makes
You
for
got
a
your
really
hydro and my solar.
no.
Mine's hydro.
In Australia, the three major parties, Labor, National Party, and Liberal Party, which used to be that there was a coalition between the Nationals and the Libs, not Liberal, but the Libs, and the National Party in particular were funded by Rio Tinto, Gina Reinhardt, and Fatty McFuckface, otherwise known as.
That's his legal name, by the way.
Clyde Palmer, yes. And the problem is that they were basically pushing mining, or their mining interest. The problem with Australians is that the Australians had enormous mineral wealth, but these couple of magnates took it over and said it's my personal property, and basically squandered the vast reserves. And they tried to suppress hydro, they tried to suppress solar actively, and so the thing that happened is that one of the sea quakes occurred is that the National Party and the Liberal Party split. Right, they've had a sort of intellectual difference, and it would be very difficult with an election to have them form a coalition again, although it's quite possible.
Yeah.
But it's because Labor is now in power and the mining interests have been diminished that they've been able to promote alternative fuel sources. So good on Australia. Congratulations.
I do want to point out one other detail on here that I think you guys will find interesting.
And we'll blame Maanyaa for that, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. The data shows the rolling 7-day mean crossed 20% on April 15th, 2018, 30% on November 13th, 2019, and 40% on September 19th, 2022. While the mark has now passed the 50% milestone, it remains well short of the Australian government's target of 82% renewable energy generation by 2030. So they got 5 years left, and with the progress they're making, what do you guys think? You think they're going to hit it?
No, because government targets are generally not met, but I think they're doing well.
The Federal Energy Minister,
things...
Chris Brown, acknowledged that the 82% goal by 2030 is an ongoing challenge, but he says he is confident that the target can be met.
Yeah. And one of the important things also that helped this time is the Green Party has been shut out. The Green Party in Australia is one of the most useless parties. They are anti-environmental, anti-animal welfare, what they do is they pretend, they pander to people saying, hey, we're green, but then they get around and they actually say, no, we don't want to support new housing. No, this isn't good enough. We want perfection. Otherwise, we'll go and quit. So the fact that the Greens have been shut out allows for the government to move forward.
Remember,
and the Nationals are screaming and crying, but they're SMO.
Remember, the perfect is the enemy of the good.
Yeah. It's really bad. You see that a lot in politics, and it's incredibly frustrating. Where it's like, we don't get to have nice things ever at all because some asshole doesn't like it because it's not gonna be perfect. And it's like, these things are a process, and you have to understand that they're a process. And it takes time, and you stop lighting the house on fire while you're still in the house. You don't cut down the current tree you're using if you haven't grown a new tree yet. Like, it's just not how it works unless you want to starve. Stop it. Yeah. Cease. Desist. You're done.
I have an announcement.
Get help.
You have an announcement?
Yes, I have switched to peach soju.
Oh, congratulations. Is it better or worse than the lychee?
I've switched to Mad Dog Distillery Moonshine Apple Pie.
Ooh.
Nice.
Ooh.
Although, again, I have to state, if it was legally produced, it's not moonshine.
Yeah, moonshine has to be illegal.
Oh, okay.
If it's not made in somebody's bathtub in some backwater in Newfoundland, it's not real moonshine.
Or like Alabama or whatever, you know, there's options.
Yeah.
Alabama? Okay.
Maanyaa, the answer to that is because the idea of moonshining basically comes from illegal stills. And the basic history is, for a very long time in the United States, distilling alcohol was a major business for a large number of agricultural concerns, whether it be family farms or business scale things. Mm. But then the U.S. government was like, but what if we tax that heavily?
Yeah.
And basically a bunch of people were like, what if we just keep doing it anyway? And then Prohibition came around and
Al Capone happened.
Al Capone happened, yeah. Also, NASCAR, Maanyaa?
Yeah.
That started from people making illegal alcohol, trying to get their cars to be fast enough to outrun the police. That's how NASCAR started.
Oh!
Think of it.
And so the alcohol produced this way was called moonshine because the alcohol produced this way was called moonshine because you went at night to go do your business so that it was harder to find you because it was at night. You went and distilled your alcohol by the shine of the moon.
I would like to point out, think about it like this. The definition of moonshine is similar to the definition of murder. It's always wrong because it's by definition illegal or by definition unjustified.
I'm going to have to slightly disagree in that I don't think that moonshining is wrong or it is illegal.
No, it's illegal by definition, right? I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just making a comparative.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Because I am not someone who is like, what is wrong is equal to what is illegal. No, fuck that.
All right.
What is this?
Good news, everyone!
Yay!
Huntington's disease successfully treated for the first time.
I read that one.
One of the cruelest
and most
one of the cruelest and most devastating diseases, Huntington's, has been successfully treated for the first time, says doctors. The disease runs through families, recklessly kills brain cells, and resembles a combination of dementia, Parkinson's, and motor neuron disease. An emotional research team became tearful as they described how data showed that the disease was slowed by 75% in patients.
Jeez.
It means
that's a lot.
Yeah. It means that the decline you would normally expect in 1 year would take 4 years after treatment, giving patients decades of good quality of life.
That's huge.
Yeah. The new treatment is a type of gene therapy given during 12 to 8 hours of delicate brain surgery. The first symptoms of Huntington's disease tend to appear in your 30s or 40s and is normally fatal within 2 decades, opening the possibility that earlier treatment could prevent symptoms from ever emerging. Director of the University College London Huntington's Disease Center described the results as spectacular. Quote, "We never in our wildest dreams would have expected a 75% slowing of clinical progression. None of the patients who have been treated are being identified, but one was medically retired and has returned to work. Others in the trial are still walking despite being expected to need a wheelchair. Treatment is likely to be very expensive. However, this is a moment of real hope in the disease that hits people in their prime and devastates families."
Yeah, like hold on. So did this say
So
that
no
this
doubt-
comes around like in your 30s and 40s? Is that what this said?
They said that symptoms
Yeah.
start to appear. It starts to show up in your 30s and 40s.
So watch out, Maanyaa.
I don't want to become a hypochondriac, but seriously, I need to start looking at this shit.
So no
to
doubt
the
RFK Jr. is
36
going
now,
to
alright?
ban this because, reasons.
Yeah, I'm 36 now, alright? I have every right to start looking into this shit.
Maanyaa
You're just a
immediately
baby.
starts. I share good news that there's treatments, and she immediately panics. What do you want from me, woman? What do you want from me? But yeah, congratulations, good job,
Yeah, that's
fantastic,
so awesome.
good
Yeah, that is-
news,
That is
everyone.
amazing.
Isn't that crazy? 75%
Yeah,
is
man.
nuts.
Yeah.
Then we have fucking like the fucking head of the CDC at America going like, "Don't give
Well-
Tylenol to pregnant women." Fuck my
Yeah.
life.
My
Well,
favorite
luckily-
thing about that, my favorite thing about the Tylenol thing is that they're not attacking a specific drug, they're attacking a brand.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Trump tried to say acetaminophen, but like he failed, and he was just like Tylenol.
Tylenol.
Oh, okay, great, thanks.
Because the word is too complex for his
Well,
fucking mouth.
you know what
that's
that
why.
means though, right? Because the United States is a little bit of a silly place, it means that Tylenol can sue Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Maybe. The thing is, you can sue the government
Defamation.
if they say you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Well,
have to get
the
permission.
suing might not happen like tomorrow, but when Trump's not in office
It's
anymore,
also, yeah, then just
or RFK Jr. or whoever,
Mhm.
you know, I'm just saying, like,
Mhm.
it's the option is there.
yeah.
I
And
do want to
hopefully
point
Trump
out
won't have the campaign funds to pay that.
one more good news, everyone.
Yes, please. Good times, please.
Yeah,
Good
I
times.
liked having these good news segments because then we're not all
Yes.
depressed all the time. All right, Canada wants to
Right.
lure tech workers who won't
good call.
get the United States H-1B visas. So you know how the
Wee
United
visa.
States is like,
Hey,
we're not giving people
India.
visas?
South Korea.
Yeah.
Go to
So-
Canada.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
a little bit
Mm.
weirder and more insidious than just that when it comes to the H-1B visa thing. So
Insidious.
what's
Interesting.
what's
Go-
happened? So
go on.
already it's a weird system, right? So the H-1B visa is supposed to be it's a U.S. immigration policy where a certain number of special visas are given out that are 3-year visas that can
Yeah.
be renewed to 6 years, if needed. And the idea is supposed to be that H-1B visas are given to workers from foreign countries who have skill sets that are just not widely held enough by citizens of the United States that the companies in the United States can fulfill those job requirements or those positions with just U.S. citizens. So the idea is supposed to be it's to supplement the skill gap or whatever in the U.S. workforce. It is wildly popular, especially with tech companies, because they can bring in people from all sorts of countries and then pay them fairly low wages, although technically the H-1B visa does require that you pay the prevailing wage. Of course, the people checking on that aren't checking very hard. So there's that. But what's happened recently is that Trump decided to impose a $100,000 processing fee on this.
Yes.
And so it's basically become more or less impossible to apply for that if that processing fee is going to be imposed. Now, part of the problem is it's not clear that, actually, it's pretty clear that he doesn't have the legal authority to do that. However, as we've seen, not having the legal authority isn't something that has been stopping the United States government recently.
Yeah, not
And,
really.
and worse, Dapper, is that he also in his ruling says that the federal government has the authorization to waive that fee. So what companies are doing is they give Trump a golden trinket, and they basically fondle his you-know-whats, and he then goes and says, you can bring in H-1B visas, right? So what it is really is a shakedown
You
to
meant his
say,
balls.
if you
They
don't want to
fondled
pay
his balls.
$100,000 to bring someone in, give me good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Now, I
What's
don't
What's the
know
word?
the fate.
It's a racket. It's like
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
racketeering.
I don't know what the fate
Yes.
of the actual $100,000 processing fee is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not clear because part of the problem is that it has become very obvious that the Supreme Court is utterly uninterested in what the Constitution or the law says. It is no, to be fair, it's not
They're
all
not
of the
interested in
justices on the
upholding.
Supreme Court. It's the
Yeah.
majority of them, though, which means this is part of the reason why I say that the United States does not exist anymore, because there is no country that is currently operating under the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah.
And it's for this reason. The Supreme Court has all but come out and said we don't give a fuck about the Constitution.
Yeah.
And so the problem is, well, it's very obviously illegal to do this. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And any country that can lure the people who would otherwise get H-1B visas should definitely do it. And another thing is, even when the H-1B visa was operating according to law, it was very unlikely that any given person would get an H-1B visa because the applicants in any given year were generally outnumber the number of actual H-1B visas available in that year by a factor of about 10.
Yeah. So this is that Canada is inviting those that are non-eligible to get H-1B visa.
Yeah.
to
So
go
yeah.
there.
Yeah. So what's going on is Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who wants to attract employees from the technology sector who might have previously worked in the United States before President Donald Trump's new visa changes. Quote, what is clear is that the opportunity to attract people who previously would have got so-called H-1B visas, Carney told reporters in London
Why are they
on
so-called?
Saturday.
That's just what they are.
Probably because, like, he's talking to Canadians who don't really fucking know what they are.
And it's also,
Yes,
and
but
by the way,
they're still so-called. That's what they
H-1B
literally
visa
are.
is actually a name for a whole umbrella. There's a whole bunch of visas that are not just H-1B.
Yeah.
I
There's
think he
J1s
also
and O1s and
might
O3s
be.
and so forth.
I think he also might be sassing the fee.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
I think that might be what he's saying. I might be wrong, but that's my interpretation from my understanding. He's very good at these underhanded fuck yous. So I think that might be
As
what
you're
he's
saying.
referring to. Quote, he added that many of the workers are in the tech sector and are willing to move for work. Trump signed, that's what you already talked about the fee. As the Canadian government reviews its immigration strategy, it will take into account absorbing this type of talent and will have a, quote, clear offering on that, Carney said.
Now, Chesh, I'll point out that I was working in the country before Trump administration, and I am ineligible for H-1B visa. So that means I do programming.
All I'm saying is this is one of the reasons why I wanted to point this out. So, Landon, hey, check this out.
Hey, Landon!
Part of this, attracting talent to the Government of Canada website. Oh, that's how strange it is that I just happen to have this pulled up or something. Weird. Canada's technology sector. Yes, go ahead.
Permanent residency in Canada, will you marry me?
Well,
sure, I'm not the marrying type, but if that would help. But usually you have to get.
Hey, that's better than the maybe that Steve got,
Maanyaa. Your citizenship there before you can then marry people in.
I'm sorry, Landon. You have to start what you said again. We all laughed over top of you. Go ahead.
What was I saying? I think I was saying something like, that they usually have to get into the country and establish your right to be there before you can then try to bring in.
Yeah, Dapper would have better luck
partners.
marrying me. It would be faster than waiting for Landon to be allowed to be there.
I feel like you might have a person who would object to me marrying you, Chesh. All right, then fine, Chesh. Will you marry me?
We can talk about it later. Canada's technology. It's still better than the maybe.
Right?
Canada's technology sector continues to grow. Employers in Canada need more top talent with in-demand skills that drive the sector forward. Immigration is key to this. It will help us meet our innovation priorities, solidify our place as a world leader in emerging technologies. With the tech talent strategy, we're developing new programs and improving existing ones to meet the needs. So, here you go. Programs we're introducing. Programs we're improving. So I'm just gonna pass this along, and I'm gonna put this in the chat. And you know, if you're interested, I'm just saying this exists. And you know, I can send it. I'll put it in our Discord chat too, because you know, if you're just talking to you, because like the thing is, like Canada's also been like bringing in a bunch of healthcare workers as well to different provinces, and there's like streamlines for that right now. But if they're extending it to tech or making their own is pretty great, pretty crap.
Just the most stupid thought came in my mind. I was just like,
yeah.
if Landon ever wants to move to Australia, he can marry me. I was like,
yeah, there you go.
I frequent Australia, and there's bits of Australia that are actually decent to live in, and Australia has a whole bunch of eclipses. There's solar eclipses coming up on Australia. So
next time you're coming to Australia, you're meeting me, all right? Don't you dare skip. You're meeting me. I will make that work.
The next time I do the Indo-Pacific, I will definitely meet you along that route, because I know you are somewhere along there. I don't want to dox you, but you're somewhere along the route, which means somewhere between east and west.
That's somewhere in the continent.
So yeah, that's the
East and west.
Landon. Guys, I live on the east to west axis, somewhere between, I don't know, Provincetown, Cape Cod, and like the tip of the Aleutian Islands on the east-west.
No,
axis.
Australia is a wonderful place to visit. I would highly recommend it, and there are wonderful people. There are places you don't want to go.
Well, that's true.
Don't go to King's Cross in Sydney. Don't avoid Alice Spring, especially at night, or Bogan Hill. But there's plenty of other places in Australia that are wonderful to be in. There's interesting people and critters and good stars.
The closest I've ever come to going to Australia is the fact that my keychain has a leather lanyard that's made of kangaroo leather.
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
Nice.
I want to go to Australia. I want to go to Australia for like 100 different reasons. I would love to go and hang out and do like a.
Is the giant spiders any of the reasons?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Each individual giant spider is its own reason.
Wow.
Tui in the chat says they have a New Zealand citizenship if anybody wants to marry them.
And isn't it a nice place too?
This is like the episode where everybody flirts with everybody and everybody proposes to everybody just to get away from the United States.
Yep. It's accurate.
So, speaking of, we have one more thing to discuss.
You know, Maanyaa, I'm just saying, Australia might be more amenable to my climatological requirements.
Yeah, than me? Yeah. Because we've talked about this before, and like Dapper and I've had this conversation about him coming to Canada, but it is not likely to it doesn't. What was that?
Physically hurt.
Yeah, what does that mean? We saw earlier about the joints attack.
Yeah, the joints attacking me. Yeah, the reason I don't live in Massachusetts anymore is literally in part, but a big part, is because it physically hurts to live there.
Really?
And it hurts much less to live here. Yeah, I have a really bad knee. Like a really bad knee. And when it's cold or stormy, it fucking hurts.
Storm impacts it? So what is the mechanism that causes pressure change to bother me?
I'm assuming
I believe it.
I mean, I'm assuming it's barometric pressure, but I haven't actually looked into it. But it's a thing. And we don't get stories.
I know. I was just curious what the mechanism is. If you happen to find
I think
something
it's barometric pressure, but yeah, I don't know exactly. But
is it change of barometric pressure? Or
I think
barometric pressure? If you went to a place that had low pressure and stayed that way, like up a mountain,
so I've been up mountains, and that usually does not on its own cause any problems for the joint. Yeah, so up a mountain usually works about just fine.
But he's referring to, body parts, not things you might consume.
Oh yeah, I've also been up a mountain, and the joints also work just fine up there. The other kind.
But stay away from Antarctica because it's high altitude. low barometry pressure and cold. I just don't go there.
Yeah, no, that's a really bad idea. But also cold also makes it worse.
And
Honestly.
ice wall would prevent you from getting dinosaurs.
I just want to point out real quick that Canada's health administration literally went out of its way to rebuke Donald Trump specifically about the Tylenol thing.
Good.
Like,
the thing with Agent Orange is he has no idea what he's doing. He just sees a controversy that he can be part of. That's sort of his part of his sociopathic.
I just like tendency. That Canada is going out of its way to tell this man to go fuck himself at every opportunity. That's all. That just makes me happy. I'm just like, good, do that thing.
Hey, you can buy Tylenol with codeine over the counter in Canadian pharmacies.
I don't think it's
just don't bring it across the border because they will confiscate.
Is it Tylenol though?
I mean, it's not just
not the brand. But... Yeah, I don't know if it's the Tylenol brand that does that.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'd have to double check. Listen, you're all doing it wrong anyway. If you want the good shit, you buy Midol. That's the good shit.
I mean, I'm not going to argue. There's a lot of stuff in there that helps with a lot of different kinds of pain.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's marketed to help with like period cramps, but like it turns out those drugs work on everyone because the biochemical differences between male and female humans is not actually that big.
Yeah.
Whatever the Republican Party might be trying to
be careful about buying medications in Canada and trying to bring them across the border.
Yes.
Because they might be legal on both sides, but they're not legal in crossing that infinitely thin boundary.
All right. So we have to talk about one of the elephants in the room, and it is Charlie Kirk got shot. All right. Charlie Kirk got shot. It is unclear about what the political affiliation is of the person who did it, and it is also unclear about that person's motivations as of this streaming. Now, with that being said, we're not going to go into a big debate about morals or celebrating or whatever, but what we're going to do is we're going to let each person, we'll go Maanyaa, then Landon, then Dapper, and then me, I guess, is just going to say their piece on it, and then we're not even going to discuss what the other people said, because there's enough chatter about it anyway, and if you want to find debates or talks about it, we can do that in the future, but just for the sake of this being a news show and us not wanting to be here all day arguing about it, stupid shit, we're just gonna do it that way. So Maanyaa, you get to go first.
Charlie Kirk, right? That's what you're talking.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk got Charlie Kirk got unalived. TLDR.
Okay. So my thing is that about of like the level of like comparison of Charlie Kirk and MLK Jr. is so pathetic. I can't even say like the amount of times that MLK like he went to jail for civil rights, and what Charlie Kirk was doing, he was going around campuses debating college kids, right? Number two, yes, wrong to kill like people. It's wrong. That's why when it's happening, people are like literally crying. Parents were crying and saying, "Please, can we do something about this?" But no one wanted to do, because more second. So now when this has happened, they're just trying to weaponize this against political opponents, and that's shame on you guys. And also another thing. If we were not this upset, they were literally like, sitting people in different Senate seats, if I'm not wrong in different states when they got shot at and killed, including their pets. No one was so much scandalized and so much angry at that. But now suddenly, nor even like calling out the far right on this. Nothing at all, and not expecting far right to defend that, nothing like that. And at that time, all the news networks that support far right, they were going out and making a mockery of that shooting and that person who died. So please spare me this thing if I go around and make mockery of when Charlie Kirk died. All right? People are saying, oh, he wanted to have a dialogue. That's how it always starts. Fascism with people, they always pretend that they want to have a dialogue, and slowly they take over all the spaces. So please, me this thing that I have to like be defensive, or I have to feel bad for Charlie Kirk. All right, his family, his wife and kids. Sure, I feel bad. Yeah, but for Charlie Kirk, heck no. And people who are saying, oh, he was nice and polite. Yeah, he was a polite racist. Got it. What do you want me to do? If he didn't cry about a Nazi Hitler, I'm not gonna cry about Charlie Kirk. Sorry, not sorry. That's my end of rant. Thank you very much.
All right, Landon, you're next.
So again, speaking personally, I do not approve of the use of violence as a means to promote political discourse. Charlie Kirk was one of those talk show hosts. He had a talk show host shtick that he did, where he claimed to debate with you, and then at his first opportunity did a dump. But we see that with other, other people across the spectrum that do that sort of thing. So that was his stick. But I do not approve of murder as part of a political discourse. I know the problem is that we live in an age now of modern fascism. Right? Fascism is a very complex topic. I would recommend seeing the 2 shows that Chess did on fascism. It's all kinds of nuances there, and not everyone. But fascism is a very broad. One of the things that fascism is using is populism, and sadly enough, there is a broad spectrum of people using this populist movement to do things, and they try to virtue signal by saying our side is right, and therefore this side is evil, and therefore they deserve this sort of thing. That I disapprove. So I do not approve of use of violence as a means for settling discourse. I condemn it in all its forms, and sadly we're in a state where across the various spectrums of political discourse, violence is becoming, in some circles, more acceptable as a means of expressing political differences. And this is one of the symptoms, sadly, that's there. He was a talk show host. He had a shtick. I didn't really care for his shtick, so I didn't really follow him. And, I would say, stop using violence as a means for expressing political differences, in my opinion.
All right, Dapper,
Please.
You're up.
All right. Well, the first thing is, currently there is no option in which there is no political violence. What is currently happening is that the fascist, sympathetic at least, if not outright fascist, elements of the United States political scene are currently using state-sanctioned violence against otherwise innocent people. And so any calls to nonviolence are always going to be unilateral under such a situation. However, that does not mean that it's a good thing that people are being murdered, or I should say killed. I'll say killed. My ideal world does not involve the killing of Charlie Kirk. However,
your ideal world also doesn't have Charlie Kirk in it.
No, that's not true necessarily. My ideal world has Charlie Kirk, who's a decent person, who's not a racist, who's not a fascist, who's not a transphobe, who's not advocating for the erasure of people on the basis of like how they dress or want to be referred to or whom they decide to love or have sex with. That's my ideal world, is that Charlie Kirk exists, but he's not a piece of shit. Anyone who misses him is a piece of shit, except for his kids, because they didn't have a choice in any of that. Further, you absolutely do not have to feel bad or mourn or in any way say anything about this, about how much this is terrible or anything, especially if you're one of the people whom Kirk would have erased from existence or public life. You absolutely do not have to mourn this loss of this piece of shit. It's not incumbent upon you. You can joke about it if you want to. Maybe don't do it on your public social media, but, whatever. And that's not because it's wrong, it's because it's not safe. So, yes. Do I like that Charlie Kirk was killed? I don't care. Would it have happened if I were in charge of the world? No. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay, it's my turn. Hooray! I don't think Charlie Kirk is this important.
Unfortunately, he's become important.
I think you're right. I think people are making him important, and I don't think you need to do that. In fact, I think if anybody wants to do anything useful, You should stop making Charlie Kirk important, because he's really not. I do think that there's a lot of people that have died, even like not even that long ago, that people have been like, good riddance. And I think that's fine. I don't think that there's a problem with that. People are allowed to have their opinions. The only problem is if you like Charlie Kirk, your opinion starts affecting people's actions in a way that, end up with people like Charlie Kirk. So like it's a cyclical thing. It's one of those things where you're doing it to yourselves. And I feel like if you just stop caring about Charlie Kirk so much, because there's not really much of a reason to care about him in the first place. He's a piece of shit with really bad positions, and he's harmed a lot of people. Other than that, I don't think he's very important.
I think we should be concerned about the attack on free speech, and that's something.
Yeah, the Jimmy Kimmel stuff and the Stephen Colbert stuff. We talked about Stephen Colbert last time because that happened the month before. But yeah, Jimmy Kimmel is the one that's happened now.
It is disgusting, and the Supreme Court that is incapable of looking at things. Future Supreme Courts are going to look at Roberts Court's decision and say, yes, we understand the importance of letting the decision stand, except if it's a Roberts Court decision, because they just went hog wild. And the freedom of speech is under attack across the board, especially in this current era.
I'm sorry, Oxcall said something really funny. He said Charlie Kirk died from an overdose of irony. I'm sorry, that one got me.
Not inaccurate, actually.
Not inaccurate. But if you want to talk about free speech stuff, because free speech stuff isn't just happening in the United States either. If we pull up here what I've got, weird how I happen to have this. Funny thing that North Korea cracks down on "I love you" as decadent expression.
Oh,
that's a weird move,
right?
Wow.
Right? North Korea has stepped up crackdowns on young people's love letters, condemning the phrase "I love you" as a sign of decadent lifestyles. Officials from a factory's Socialist Patriotic Youth League in I don't know how to pronounce that, Hamhung, whatever, discovered a love letter during a routine inspection on September 13th and turned it into an ideological issue, according to the Daily North Korea source in South Place province recently. Quote, they criticized the phrase "I love you," which was in the letter, and made a big deal of the matter, source said on Friday. And this is exactly what Landon was talking about when you're talking about fascism and populism and inventing these unnecessary culture wars, forcing them into the public debate sphere, like things like Charlie Kirk and like the right wing has been doing in Extremists in America, and then making a big deal about it and then turning it into a political problem that it just doesn't need to be a problem in the first place. It's weird when you get to talk about how America is doing a North Korea.
I mean, it is. Look, the ideals of the United States have always been something that the United States has failed to live up to. It's just that, at the very least, the United States liked to pretend that it was attempting to live up to them. And now, even that is starting to go away.
I said this the other day, and I don't. Maybe you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, or if you have a comment on it. I said the other day that the United States had an ideal. The American dream was something to be strived for, not something that you already had, or something that you have currently or had in the past. It's something that you're supposed to be working towards, not something that, America's great, we live the American dream. It's like, no, that's a goal, that's an aspiration, not a current state of affairs.
Yeah, but this notion of the era of hyper-nationalism and belligerent patriotism allows people to take their concern for the country and turn it into a cudgel to say, you need to be this way or you're not a true patriot. That's one of the roads that we've gone down, sadly, and it is a case. It's debatable whether Agent Orange is has how much of it is cognitive dissonance, how much of it is that he's a sociopath. The thing that I reserve even greater condemnation is people such as Vice President Vance or Secretary Rubio. Those people know better. Those people know the character of Trump.
I think
Those
Stephen
people
Miller's a problem.
Understand what he's doing. They have the mental capacity, and they're going along with it anyway. And I hope that his history holds them in high contempt for being
Are you
complicit.
saying that you
Just
hope
like
they get
in the
Nuremberg?
Nuremberg thing, we had people there. Now, I understand, and that's why I like to use the word modern fascism, because fascism does not mean you're a Nazi. Fascism does not mean that you necessarily want to put people in ovens. Fascism is a whole set of spectrums. Again, see the 2 videos that Chesh's channel has done on fascism. It's a whole nuanced stuff, and not everything fits all of the things perfectly. But this modern era of fascism has been a case of using the marriage of industry and government and the hyper-nationalism and belligerent patriotism to essentially destroy the reputation of the United States and to wear down the principles. Right? These people actually hate America and are using America to try to destroy America. That's a sad thing. So all of those sycophants in Congress that are aiding and abetting this have, to me, a very high level of political condemnation, because they know better. Many of them do. Some of them are just wackos. Many of them do. And to understand that the margin in the House of Representatives is so thin that it just takes a couple of people from the Gentleman Putin organization called the GOP to buck the trend. But they're all too either scared or cowardly, or they don't care or whatever, and that's the worst thing.
Or they're part of it.
And if you get one of them privately, have a discussion. I won't say what, and you say, "Hey, what's going on?" They say, "Don't ask. I have to do this in order to get elected. It's the requirement of the job. We just hope that we can." And excuse, right? And it's a sad thing. This is the modern fascism that we're living in right now.
So just to be, just because we are getting close to the end of the show, I have 2 things to hit you guys with. Google likely to be hit with the first EU antitrust fine under new EU law, sources said.
Yeah.
We're back to good news, everyone. Antitrust laws have been, degraded over time, so bringing some of that shit back, I'm here for it. And, Google is one of those things. Hey, remember when Google's tagline was "Don't be evil"?
I do remember that, yeah.
Once upon a time, back in my day, Google used to try not to be a piece of shit. Google's been hit with a heavy fine. There's been a case that's been brought under EU's Digital Markets Act, and tensions with Trump administration means that there's no rush to close the case. So that's the short end of what the fuck summary. So
and
by
it
the way,
depends
if
upon
you want
how much
By the
Google
way,
is going
if
to
you-
bribe the administration, right?
yeah, right.
If they go and give Agent Orange, nice trinkets and kisses, you know what? They may be able to get him to curry favor. You never know.
Possible. What were you saying, Dapper?
I was going to say, by the way, if you want to reduce the degree to which I have to depend on Google for my income,
This motherfucker.
join the Patreon.
You put a link to the Patreon in the.
I don't have it handy. I'm playing a video game.
You
So are
fucking
we
asshole.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about the U.S. war on the United States, like what's happening in Portland?
That's a whole other thing. Give me a second. I'm getting Dapper's Patreon.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually one of the proud patron members. If you listen to his close of things where he thanks people, I'm one of the people that are named because I think what Dapper is doing in his channel is important.
So just to cover this one real quick, I got one more, then we can talk about Portland. Google's likely to be hit with its first fine. Acting as the EU's competition enforcer, the Commission's handed Google a 2.95-ish billion euro or $3.45 billion fine earlier this month under older antitrust regulations for favoring its online display technology services and reinforcing its ad exchange AdX central role to the detriment of rivals and online publishers. There's looming new fines to be charged. Charges are supposed to be brought in March. So that'll be next year that we're going to see this start to, like, go about it. Of course, Donald Trump sticks his nose in fucking everything and has opinions about it, but we don't care what Trump says because nothing Trump says matters. So
well, I wish that were true. Unfortunately, it's not.
Well, but I more mean to say what he says doesn't matter because he'll turn around and do something else 20 minutes later. Not to say that it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't have an impact.
Trump always chickens out. Is a truism that remains true.
And he even chickens out on chicking out too.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So I'll keep an eye on this and I'll keep it off to the side and potentially I will read through that litigation when it comes about if that becomes available because I think that's going to be very, very interesting. And I also wanted to point out in other news, Microsoft forced to make Windows 10 extended security updates truly free in Europe. You won't have to enable Windows backup to get extended Windows 10 security updates from the European Economic Area. Can Canada have this, please? Please, we need these more. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. So yeah, Windows 10's end of support is approaching in less than 3 weeks, and Microsoft is now being forced to make its extended security updates truly free without a catch in certain markets in Europe. When Windows 10 goes end of support on October 14th, some European customers will no longer be required to turn on Windows Backup to enroll to its extended security updates. So if that is you, and you are still using Microsoft's fucking garbage like I am, unfortunately, just be aware that this might affect you if you're in that space. I just wanted to get that information out there to you guys so it would be available. Nice. I think everybody here liked that. I think everybody approved of this.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, look, do you remember when Microsoft said that Microsoft... Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember when Microsoft said that Windows 10 was going to be the last version of Windows you ever needed? Remember that?
Yeah, of course.
I will say that Microsoft has decades of operating system incompetence, and every time
competence or incompetence?
Incompetence, and every time they produce a machine, I've been able to go and one of these window thingies. I've been able to severely compromise it. I send it back to Microsoft saying, "Here's a fundamental flaw. Fix it." I don't release it out, and I don't want any of their money because they're extremely incompetent and they have decades of experience. And those that rely on their operating system, I feel sorry. It is extraordinarily badly designed, and they continue to make fundamental flaws in their operating system, and I don't see any hope for them. And what's worse is that Microsoft's not compatible with Microsoft, right? That when they come up with new Windows, they can essentially say all the other crap we did, just throw that out because we're going to start again, have a sane foundation. But no, if you have to have an antivirus on your machine to try to prevent people from corrupting it, your OS is effed, right? That's you.
Which is why we should all switch to Temple OS, which, despite having no actual protections against malware, also has no connectivity, which means you can't get malware anyway unless you load a disk into your drive with malware on it.
It's a holy OS.
It is. In fact, it is the third temple predicted to come about in the Bible, or at least the version of the Bible believed by certain sects of Christian.
I'm gonna schedule the stream Chesh on your Goblin Q Chesh channel after this to cover Steve's bullshit.
Oh, good. Breaking news, everyone! Maanya's gonna go live on my channel about Steve. Alright, Here we go. This is Portland. We got to talk about Portland.
This
This is the last thing we're talking about tonight. So, okay, we're going to start with the Politico article. Trump says he is authorizing military to use full force in Portland. The president wrote on Truth Social that he is directing the Defense Department to send troops to Oregon. I like this picture of Donald Trump. I'm not going to lie. This is pretty.
But he's saying the War Department. He's saying
That's
the War
not that
Department.
bad.
Yeah, he said War
That
Department.
might be the healthiest I've ever seen him look.
Yeah, there's the quote down there.
Yes. President Donald Trump is directing Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to send U.S. troops to Portland, he said on Saturday on Truth Social. Why does he do this shit on the weekend? We know that. We're not going to talk about that right now. Another time. Making the extraordinary pronouncement that he is greenlighting the use of full force if necessary in an American city. Quote, at the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists, he wrote. Can somebody please call up Jeff Holiday for me?
Right?
Further details about the president's actions were not immediately clear. Oh, wow, I'm shocked. Including what legal authority the president would rely on to authorize full force of the military in Oregon, a federal law. I don't fucking know what this
Posse
is.
Comitatus.
Posse Comitatus.
Thanks. Act of 1878 generally bars the president from using federal troops to enforce domestic law.
Sure does.
Sure
Doesn't matter, though,
does.
because, again, nothing
He
about
doesn't care.
legality matters. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not...
And,
yeah.
and that's what I said about the third thing that an attack, which is the United States is under attack by the United States, and this is just yet another of these things. When will members of Congress stand up and say enough is enough? No, there's a majority of cowards and sycophants that are going to let it go on, as well as the Supreme Court that's just beyond the pale of.
I
By the way,
got
to the people
another
who are-
one.
oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you can go first.
I was going to say, by the way, to the people who are surprised that I'm playing a video game, what you don't know is that I'm playing a video game when I'm live almost all the time.
If he's not playing a video game, I'd
Almost is a
say,
keyword.
what's wrong, Dapper? Are you like running a show or something?
What game?
That's the only time I'm not. Yeah.
What game are you playing?
This is Space Marine 2, the sequel to Space Marine, which was a game I absolutely adored. And I didn't think it was ever going to get a sequel. And then it did. And it fucking rules.
And it's bloody and it's gory.
And it's a good time. All right.
Yeah,
so
it is.
Okay.
Oregon officials residents slam ridiculous Trump order to send troops to Portland. President will not find lawlessness here unless he plans to perpetrate it, mayor says.
Which he does.
The U.S.
It
President
doesn't matter.
Donald Trump said on Saturday, blah, 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 full force, blah, blah, blah. Oregon Democratic Governor Tina Kotek, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, responded by saying Trump is abusing his authority by ordering troops to the city, which she said is doing just fine on its own. Trump made the announcement, Secretary of War, blah, blah, blah. Trump said the decision was necessary to protect U.S. immigration and customs and for ICE facilities from what he described as under siege attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for details on Trump's announcement, such as a timeline for deployment or what troops would be involved.
But one thing we do know is that the secretary, Defense Secretary, has called in all the generals and admirals at level 1 and higher,
Yes.
to have them face to face to basically do a loyalty oath. He wants them to, as he said, I want them to put their warrior face on and pledge that they will be true warriors. The thing is that people, at that, when you're at the general level, you're at politics, right? You have a congressional approval. You're a politician. But those people are clear enough to know that their oath they swore is to the Constitution, not to Trump, not to Secretary of State. And there will be people, good patriots, will sit there and say, fuck you and the horse you rode in on. And they'll say, fine, you're dismissed. And then they'll push this notion to lower people saying, hey, we're emptying the ranks of people that are not going to be sycophantic loyal to this degenerate in the Oval Office. So if you want to fill their shoes and rise up rapidly, go along with the program.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. And again, the use of troops, because when the economy begins to suffer from the economic vandalism, and when people begin to be concerned about stuff, what does a populace do? You find enemies within and enemies without. And you say, look, those bad people, implying that they're the problem, and that you empathize with their anger, and that's how they stay in power.
MAGA.
So they'll go to places like Portland and say, look, bad Democrats, they'll find the worst of Portland and say, this is why we have troops going in there. And,
MAGA has definitively gone out of its way to normalize the us versus them. If you go and look at anybody who does MAGA speak, Charlie Kirk, even if you go look at some of his stuff that he was saying, you can go look at, like, we talked about Steve, there's, like, a lot of people that if you go and look at what they're saying, it is very much a they, a them, the deep state. And then it's like, those horrible trans people, or what are they doing, or they're coming for your children, and blah, 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 blah. And it's all like this overblown, exaggerated rhetoric based off of propaganda, based off of bullshit to radicalize you. Turning Point USA is a radicalization machine for specifically young white men. That is their targeted demographic. So when you see that happening, being aware of it is helpful, but also be aware that you can fall for it too. Nobody's immune to this kind of thing, and it's very cult.
You need to, and if you really want to counter it, you need to really start working on how you can come up with counter narrative around it. You really, so that you can really nail them and point out where they're wrong. You have to start practicing that.
You have to be educated.
If you really want to get in the field with them. We are seeing a lot of youngsters. I get it. They're coming out. They're having these talks and everything. They're trying to have these debates and everything, right? With these MAGA people, they were you can say the college kids that Charlie Kirk was trying to have quote unquote debates with, right? So you really have to sit down and study their rhetoric and understand what their strategy is, how they go about, right? Well, with Charlie Kirk, what he would do is he would just throw in a random stat and try and build on top of that. But then you have to call him out. Where did you get that stat from?
Or do you understand anything about statistics?
Say, well, you're just a blah and donkey.
Yeah. There's something to be said. There's a question in the chat that I wanna address, because I think it's a really good question, and we should probably end on that. And I think I need to do a bigger series on it, and I'm something that is in the back of on my burners over here. And it is, I've been trying to plan for New York City being under martial law, but how do you prepare for that? Any advice?
I mean, it depends on what your goal is. Is your goal to stay safe? If that's the case, then stay home as much as possible. Have things delivered as much as possible. And don't go out. Is your goal to oppose the martial law? In that case, start with some peaceful protests. Hold
and then ride the wave.
Yeah. If you're on a jury and the charges stem from anything to do with the federal occupation, where the victim is anyone in the federal government, and you are on either a grand or a petit jury, you vote either no bill or not guilty. Period. If your goal is to just fight back, then, first recognize you're almost certainly going to spend time in prison. At least jail.
Yeah.
And also, if that's your goal, get the most powerful weapon you can.
I think that the buddy system is important in those scenarios.
Also, yeah.
This is, I don't know, but this is one of the first things I think of is that make sure you have know who your neighbors are. Get to know your neighbors, get to know what your neighbors are good at. Maybe hold a barbecue or something, little block party.
Yeah, to have support rather than be on island there.
Yeah,
I'd also would recommend There's a map. There's an app by the ACLU called Mobile Justice, which has some things about how to handle and how to do recording. If you're trying to record something on your phone, the problem is your phone can be seized. So Mobile Justice is a way to essentially that stuff is going up to the cloud to a place that you can't get to. Also having, if you're going to be active, have ability to get legal representation. Because when you are arrested and heard, if you can get to a lawyer, again, the time to find a lawyer is not when you're in trouble.
Yeah, wipe your digital footprint as much as possible. If that means you have to start a new completely anonymous account through a VPN on your YouTube or whatever, get rid of any. If you have Facebook, get rid of it. If you have Instagram, get rid of it. If you have Google accounts, get rid of it if you can. Get rid of as much of it as possible and remove and wipe it as best as you can. And do not give the government information about yourself as best as possible. But also, when I say that community thing, I specifically mean find out what each other are good at and get to know each other, and make sure you exchange numbers so you can check on each other and make a schedule. And when you guys when you go grocery shopping, go in a group. Don't go by yourself.
And also be careful not to be carried away by the emotions. One of the dangers of a crowd is you can get into the crowd psychology.
Have a plan,
and carried away with something that you normally wouldn't do or prepared to do.
Yeah, if you're going grocery shopping, go grocery shopping. Don't be fucking around.
Yeah, and I say again, I just again for the record, I condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk. I condemn using violence as a means for political discourse. Be safe, and if you're going to oppose things, going to protest, understand the risks. Have a game plan. Have legal representation. Have people that know where you're going, so when you don't come back, they can start looking for you. Because you may be in a situation where you're not allowed to have an attorney present, and you need people to come to say, "Hey, where is so and so?" Now,
I would say there's a difference between a protest and a riot. If you're doing a protest, it needs to be peaceful. Protests are only effective if they are peaceful. If you're doing a riot, well, damn. Yeah.
It's an app by the ACLU called Mobile Justice, and it is very get to know very well. Although they disconnected the. Actually, you can't download anymore. So, but go to aclu.org/mobilejustice.
And also, by the way, know your rights if you can. If there's go get a consultation if you need to about what you want to do, and you can talk to people about that. But yeah, that's everything from us. You guys got last words?
Remember, if anyone puts you on a jury, and the charges stem from a federal occupation of your city, don't say anything about this in any of the jury screening process, but your answer is either not guilty or that you do not vote to send a bill of indictment. Yeah. Remember that. And I don't care what the crime is. If someone fucking kills someone and the person that was killed was ICE or some other federal police office or law enforcement who was occupying your city, that's a hostile occupying force.
Yeah.
The answer is not guilty. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So if you're called to serve in a jury, please consider serving. Don't try to weasel out of it.
Please do.
Because we need decent people on a jury to there. And just think about if you're in the box, you want rational people that are going to be fair-minded and consider things like what Dapper is suggesting, saying, is this really a crime that we should be voting guilty on? You want people to consider that. And if you simply just get out of jury duty because you don't want to, that's a sad thing. We need decent people on juries.
Maanyaa, you got any last words from you?
Sooner we can move on from talking about Charlie Kirk and actually start focusing on what matters, the better.
My last word is probably going to be something along the lines of protect yourself, stay safe out there. If you're planning on leaving the United States, or if you're planning on, you want to get out, or you have, this is my line, know what your line is and be able to like articulate what your line is, because then if you can articulate it, it means you know what your line is clearly. And if you are planning on, or you think that might end up being a thing that you have to do, get your paperwork in order now. So you don't have to leave right now, but get your passport, get any paperwork that you think that you need done right now. Like tomorrow. Like get it done yesterday, because like those things will not always be available, and they may not
be
always
able to
be
preserve
available.
your options.
Yes, exactly. So that way you have plan A, plan B, plan C, so that when that thing happens, you're not trying to get your stuff done, because by then it's probably too late. Thank you so much for joining us. I will put those links in the description down below. Follow everybody at the stuff and the doodly doos. And if you're in tech, or if you're a medical student, you know, or a student at all, maybe consider coming to Canada. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.